The Beyond the Fame podcast is fed by Lido Pizza. Lido Pizza never cuts corners. For menu and locations, visit LidoPizza.com. And of course, this podcast would not be possible without our longtime title sponsor, the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. Upcoming featured entertainment includes Bret Michaels' birthday bash on April 11th and Earthquake on April 12th. Details and tickets at HollywoodCasinoCharlestown.com. Must be 21 to enter the casino floor and attend a show. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. The rock band Firehouse performs live at the Tally-Ho Theater in Leesburg, Virginia on Thursday, April 3rd. I spoke with guitarist Bill Leverty about growing up in Virginia before recording hits like Don't Treat Me Bad, Love of a Lifetime, and When I Look Into Your Eyes. Hey, Bill Leverty. Hey, thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jason.
We are talking to the longtime guitarist of the band Firehouse, which is coming to rock the Tally-Ho Theater in Leesburg, Virginia on April 3rd. And then you'll also be the next day, April 4th, at the Beacon Theater down in Hopewell, Virginia. I guess a little bit closer to Richmond, where you all formed and everything. But how familiar are you with the Tally-Ho? I would imagine pretty familiar since it's right up the road from your stomping grounds.
Oh, we love that. We love that theater. I think we've played there maybe 3 times already, maybe 4. And it's just a great rock and roll venue.
Yeah, I love all those little intimate vibes. You get right up near the band, the little historic vibes, and a cool little town of, walkable restaurants and stuff. Do you guys, before or after the show, do you ever hit the streets of Leesburg there? Do you have any favorite restaurants, anything like that?
I can't remember, but I love that town. It's just got a great vibe to it, and it's beautiful, and it's I don't know, the word charming comes to mind. These charming town like that, but it's kind of close to so many other places, and of course DC, and
Yeah.
so we hope to see a lot of people from all around.
Oh yeah, as you know, we call it the DMV. Whenever we do these interviews, people from DC, Maryland, and Virginia, even some West Virginia, Delaware, come on out to some Delmarva folks. Come on out to Tally-Ho and see Firehouse for all your favorite songs. So speaking of which, tease the set list a little. Is it going to be sprinkling in, a little bit of smattering of all the hits from over the years? Is there anything new the band's working on? What are we gonna hear?
Well, we are definitely going to be playing the songs that people know us by, some of the hard rock songs like Shake and Tumble and like Reach for the Sky, All She Wrote, songs like that. And then we do a smattering, I like that word, of love songs. We sprinkle them around. So we'll do, Love of a Lifetime for sure. Definitely do When I Look Into Your Eyes. That one was a big song for us. And then uh, probably do even another one. I'm not sure. We have a couple of alternate other love songs. So we did this song called "I Live My Life for You" that
Yeah,
in 1995 went into the top 30, I
yeah,
think.
yeah. 20.
Just I guess by happy accident. And so we'll do that one probably. If not, we'll do another a different one. But we've been doing a couple of other songs off our third record that are a little different, and then our kind of more pop sides, Don't Treat Me Bad, songs like that, and a couple of other surprises that we'll throw in there, and so it'll be a little different than the last time we were there.
I love it. And all these songs you're dropping, I'd love to do, a little bit later in this interview, a deeper dive on some of them individually, if we have time. But since
Sure.
we're talking about the show itself, I did want to say, I guess on a bittersweet note, isn't that weekend in Virginia, April 3rd and 4th? That's almost the 1 year anniversary of the death of longtime lead singer CJ Snare. I guess he died April 5th, 2024, last year. So is this time of year a little bittersweet for you this time around? And how have you been able to move on with it's Nate Peck of American Idol, right? So yeah, speak to sort of how it's bittersweet, a new chapter, but also trying to pay tribute to your old friend.
Well, it definitely, I mean, I feel like every show, it's reminded us of what a great singer he is, because his voice lives on.
Yeah.
What a great songwriter, what a great keyboard player. A lot of people don't know what a great keyboard player is, what a great friend he was, and what a great front man he was. And so that weekend will be heartfelt for us, but we dedicate a song called "Home Is Where the Heart Is" to him
Hmm.
every night. It's a song that he and I wrote in the early days, and it's about our childhoods and our memories of that. And he was really fond of that song, so we dedicate that one to him every night. And I'm sure this one will be a special one since it'll be the 1 year marker since his passing.
Yeah, I mean, the home is where the heart is. That those lyrics are and words are gonna, and just the sentiment behind it is really gonna hit home. The fact that you're literally going to be home in Virginia. I don't know if you planned the tour that way, but it works out that right around that same weekend, it's going to be a perfect time to pay tribute to your roots and to him.
Yeah, we don't get to pick the dates. We're very grateful that the folks at the Tally Ho invited us to play then,
Yeah.
and we gladly accepted because it's such a great venue. And like you had mentioned, Nate Peck, who's been singing with us since October of 23, when CJ had a surgery, he was filling in at the time, and he's just a phenomenal singer. I mean, the guy is just amazing, and he's only 23 years old,
Hmm.
and so it's really remarkable that a guy that's that young has that extraordinary talent and that much. Um, he's already he's got so much control and so much range and so much tone in his voice that Lionel Richie and Katy Perry and Luke Bryan all said when he auditioned for American Idol, they all said, "Oh yeah, absolutely, you're going to Hollywood." So he got the golden ticket, is what that's called, when all the judges say absolutely. So
Yeah.
if you haven't seen him, he's a phenom for sure.
Come out to Talio to see Nate Peck, front Firehouse. Adam Lambert goes on to front Queen after Idol, and Nate Peck is leading Firehouse. And you said he's a phenom, so you got to come see it. Well, you're talking about growing up and home is where the heart is. So I'd love to go back in time a little and remember you growing up. I know you were born in Richmond in 1962. So what did you listen to growing up? What were some of those touchstone bands? I guess in the late 60s, probably more 70s of your formative years. Yeah, your teenage years.
Well, in the late 60s, Creedence Clearwater Revival, I had that album. I had a Rare Earth album that had Get Ready on it,
Yeah.
and I had a little lava lamp that my parents were really cool, and they got me into music. My dad had a Carlos Montoya record, which was a flamenco guitarist at the time, and that really inspired me to want to play guitar. I didn't really get started playing guitar until I was about 14, though. But in I'd say the late 60s, I was listening to a lot of radio. My parents always had the radio, and they had their record collection that I listened to, and I loved. The Carpenters. I was listening to them. I thought they were great.
One of the great
And
voices
then,
gone too soon, Karen Carpenter.
oh
All time
yeah,
stuff.
absolutely, Ray Charles. And then we watched the Ed Sullivan Show, so I saw a lot of great artists there. And then later on in the 70s, I got a paper route, and my paper route district manager liked the way that I worked hard. I had two paper routes in the morning, and he's like, "Hey man, if you want to ride with me in my car, we can deliver these other paper routes too. We'll just split the money, and you don't have to ride your bicycle, and we'll knock the you got my girlfriend will drop us off at the top of the street. She'll meet us at the bottom of the street. I'll take the right side of the street. You take the left. We'll knock out all the houses that have subscriptions to the paper, and then we'll go to the next block." And I thought, wow, what a great way to avoid the rain and the cold and all the
I love it.
pedaling and all that. And so he put on the funk station in Richmond, Virginia, which was called Disco 99. And I'll never forget the DJ's name was the Chocolate Chip. And Kirby Carmichael was the other guy that came on a little later. And so I got exposed to all the great, the James Browns and Hamilton Bohannon and
Yeah.
uh, Earth, Wind and Fire when they came out, the Ohio Players and all the great funk artists, Stevie Wonder. which I was already into Stevie Wonder at the time anyway, heavily with his
Mhm.
Intervisions album. So I got exposed to a lot of really good early 70s funk music that really made me have a love for that. And and then I got into Leonard Skinner and then Ted Nugent, and then along comes Eddie Van Halen, and then
And he
you
blew
know
your mind.
I got into
Yeah.
changed the way I directed my life towards wanting to be a musician at that point, and I got into some jazz fusion guitar players like Alan Holdsworth and Al Di Meola and Jeff Beck, and then it was all she wrote from there.
Wow. Thank you so much for those stories. And your painting is perfect for a podcast because you're painting visuals in our heads. I can imagine that lava lamp just, percolating right around you listening to CCR and Rare Earth. And then I can imagine you pedaling your bicycle, throwing newspaper. What was it? The Richmond Times Dispatch, I'm guessing?
It sure was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my
That
grandfather worked for that paper too.
really, what do
So
you do?
it's pretty cool. He
What
was
do
a
you do?
news editor. And my other grandfather was an editorial writer. So both of my grandparents were in the news business.
Wow. So you had a connection. You're pedaling and you grab that paper and throw it. You're like, here's my grandpa. Here's my here throwing your
Yeah.
relatives on the doorsteps. That's great.
That's
Oh, all right.
right.
So your family was in my racket for a while, this whole journalism thing. Cool. I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah, man.
I love it. So then how do you meet then the Firehouse guys and form them in Richmond in '84? I guess originally it was called White Heat, right? Which was that named after the Cagney movie or not?
No,
All right.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it.
Highly
I've missed a
recommend.
lot of movies. My attention span is pretty short, so sitting down for a movie, it's got to be something I really feel like I got time
Well,
for.
it's one of the greatest
But
gangster movies ever if you get a chance.
all
I was
right, well,
just
I'll have to
thinking
check
about it.
that out.
I was just thinking about it the other day. Now I'm tangenting, but I was just thinking about it the other day because I was interviewing the stylistics, and the guy I was interviewing, Aaron
Huh.
Loeb, was born the year that movie came out. So I didn't know I'd be referencing that movie twice in a row. But here you go, White Heat. All right. So anyway, so
Yeah.
you met CJ Snare, the vocalist, keyboardist, and then drummer Michael Foster and bassist Perry Richardson, and then of course you on guitar. How did that all actually come together there in '84?
Well, it all started when I was working in a grocery store trying to get in a band that I could play in at night. So I'd work in the grocery store, in the early morning, and then I wanted to do some gigs at night and join a band. And I put an ad up in this music store. There was the one music store in my part of Richmond that it was the coolest store in Richmond. Everybody went in there and they had a little message board, and I put my name and number up there and who I liked, and what kind of music I wanted to do. And then somebody called me and they said, "Hey, do you want to join our band? We need a guitar player." And I said, "Oh, great." And I joined the band and we played a couple of gigs, and things were going great. But then the manager of the band called me and he said, "Hey, look, we've decided to go with a different guitar player who owns a PA, and he comes with a singer and a bass player, and I'm really sorry, but we've got to replace you." And I said, "Well, that's okay. I understand. I really liked the band too. We played all kinds of cool stuff, UFO and Blue Oyster Cult, and cool stuff." And then about a month later, they called me back and they said, "Hey, hope there are no hard feelings because I'd really like to have you join the band back again. The guitar player didn't work out, or this other guitar player didn't work out, and we really like for you to come back again." And I said, "Well, yeah, I'd love to." And they were like, "Well, come on back." And we started playing more. And then um, the bass player had to leave. We got a different bass player. And this was a band called Star Rider. Okay.
Okay,
And
Star Writing.
then the singer quit, and the bass player got replaced. And then the drummer's wife got pregnant. So we needed a new drummer. And we got a new singer at that point. He was good, and we needed a new drummer, so we auditioned. I'm guessing 20 drummers, and Michael Foster was the last guy that came in, and he brought in this green drum kit, and he played so well. We auditioned. His first song was a song by Fastway called "Say What You Will," and
Okay.
it's got a swing to it. It's young, and it was just the perfect feel to me for that triplet feel swing, kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And I was like, we got to get this guy. And everybody agreed, that's the guy, but let's hear him sing. And then we heard him sing and we were like, oh my God, this is our guy. So he had plans to go into the fire academy. He was all set to go in to be a firefighter. And
Mm.
and we said, don't do that. Just put it off for a little while. Let's just see if we can get some gigs and or whatever. And he said, okay. So we were playing all over Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, West Virginia, Tennessee, probably up there a little bit, maybe in Maryland. And our singer quit. In that time, we had made a lot of demos and written a lot of songs. And then we were seeing this other band on the same circuit play, and they were great. They had a great singer named CJ Snare,
Mm.
and they had a great bass player singer named Perry Richardson.
Mm.
And that band broke up. And so I had already met CJ a couple of times, and I'd been giving CJ demo tapes, just saying, hey, if you ever want to write or get together, make a recording or something. And and I called him, and he said, oh man, I'd love to get together. And I said, well, let me send you our demo that we've got going right now, and see if you like the direction what we're doing. And he loved what we had written of the like 6 songs or so. He said, man, I'd love to sing on these songs. And I said, well, let's do it. I'll book some studio time in North Carolina. He was living in Charlotte at the time. And we went in and he recorded on those songs, and it was just magnificent. His voice just lifted those songs up so much. And so we did a show together at Bessie's Boathouse in Norfolk. Um, the Boathouse is what it's called now.
Yeah.
And he, after the show, he goes, this is the band I want to be in. I said, well, let's consider it done. We shook hands on it, and then we didn't have Perry yet in the band. Perry was in another band. We asked him to join. He was committed to this other band called Nantucket. They had already been signed to Epic. I'm not sure if they were signed at the time, but they had a deal, and they had a pretty big following. And eventually we got enough interest, and enough time had passed where Perry had served out his commitment, and he joined our band. And then things started to really happen for us. So that was the evolution of Star Rider to White Heat to Firehouse, which we didn't change our name to Firehouse until we actually signed with Epic, and we did a trademark search, and we found out that there were a couple other White Heats that were already had prior usage of the name.
Oh, other
So
bands.
my yeah, other bands. There was a White Heat Swing Orchestra in Chicago. There was a White Heat in somewhere in Canada, and there was another White Heat somewhere else. And so we just said, let's come up with a new name. Michael came up with the name Firehouse, um, not because of Kiss, and not but because he was going to be a firefighter. And actually, his son is a firefighter now, so it runs in the family. So yeah, so that's the story.
Nice. Well, it's good that was on his backstory, Firehouse, right? If yours would have been the Paper Boys, but
Paper Boys,
Paper
but that was
Boys.
already taken.
Yeah, that's kind of catchy, actually. Yeah, Firehouse. Well, that's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I mean, you had Sting in the Police, so we needed, yeah, I mean, we needed a firefighter version. I love it. All
Damn
right.
right.
Well, as you're mentioning, you kind of mentioned the evolution to sign with Epic Records in '89, and I guess that had happened down in Charlotte, North Carolina. And that was the self-titled debut album, of course, Firehouse in '90. I think it goes double platinum. Of course, Love of a Lifetime. It was like a top 5 hit on the Billboard Hot 100. It was massive, but you co-wrote that, but you also co-wrote the singles Don't Treat Me Bad, which went to like 19, and All She Wrote, that was also, I guess, 58. So you had like at least 3 pretty big hits on that album. So what's something that most people might not know about the songwriting process of, let's say, a Don't Treat Me Bad?
Well, with all of our songs, you know, I was always trying to come up with an idea for a song, a hook, a title, uh, a riff, whatever. And CJ was constantly doing the same thing, and he wrote on a keyboard so he could translate the stuff. He wrote on the keyboard like a guitar. He always said, "Man, I feel like I play keyboards like a guitar." When he writes, which was really convenient because he really did, and it was really stuff that, I was able to play, whereas a lot of keyboard players, they'll spread their hands out so far, and your guitar, you can't do it with your fingers. But he had a great mind for music theory and for songwriting. And so we would always we had an agreement that, every riff and every hook and every lyric that I had or that he had, we would share it with each other, because we knew we were each working all the time on writing songs. So, um that one, um dan, chicka, chicka, dan, chicka, chicka, dan, chicka, dan, chicka, chicka, dan, chicka, chicka, dan, that little intro there, probably something I played to him, and he goes, "Oh, I got this, dong 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 dang 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 dong 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 dong." And then we go stew on it in our own corners, or we had a band house, and he lived 2 blocks away. And we'd get back together, and he'd say, "Oh, I got it, baby, don't treat me bad." I'm like, "Oh, great. Let's see. This could be the best thing that you've ever had." Oh, okay. So it just all kind of built when as a little puzzle that we put together all the time. Then once we had a skeleton put together, we'd play it for the other guys, and then they would uh, add their expertise to it. And then, we'd finish up any lyrics that that were needed. And we record it. We had a little 4 track in my bedroom, and we had it in the basement. We had the drum kit set up, and from the basement drum kit, we had a snake, an audio snake, like 24 channel snake, that would run through the air conditioning ductwork up into my bedroom. And then we would, I had a mixer in there, a little mixing console, and we would multi-track with only 4 tracks, of course, these songs, and make pretty, I should say, decent demos. And then these demos that we made, we gave them to some people, and some of those people took an interest, and that gave us confidence to keep going.
Awesome. I'm loving your stories here. The chicka ching ching. I mean, it sounds like the real song. It's perfect. No, that's
Wish I
great. I'm loving the backstories. All right. Well, I have to do a follow-up question on the first album. We have to go deep dive in Love of a Lifetime. Why is it the perfect wedding song? Why do you think it resonates so well? I mean, you probably still hear it at weddings to this day.
Well, thank you. Oh, we do, and we hear it from people that we wouldn't expect. I was sitting at a meet and greet with the other guys, and then this big dude, biker dude. I thought I was going to get my ass whooped, and he comes in and goes, "Hey, man, I just want to let you know, Love of a Lifetime is me and my old lady song." And I was like, "Oh God, thank God! I thought you were going to smack me." You know, but it could have been timing that, at that time in music history, our song gained enough traction and got enough views on MTV, and enough airplay on the radio, where people felt that emotional connection that you can get with music that you can't get really with any other kind of media or art form.
Yeah.
And people just connected with it. And so it could have been timing, and it could be, that the song, the lyrics, I feel, are more than just a love song. It's kind of like a lifetime love song, no pun intended.
Yeah.
But people get into it, and I'm just, thank God every day that they do.
It's a great one. Have you ever been at a wedding and it comes on and you're like, wait a minute, that's
I
me?
honestly, I have not, but I've been in other situations where it comes on and go, "Holy moly, I'm
Yeah.
I'm on aisle 5 in the grocery store, and there's Love of a Lifetime." You know,
I found some peas for my dinner, whatever. Yeah. That's great. All right. And then I guess right off of that, you guys are huge. I mean, everyone knows you at that point. And then at the American Music Awards in '92, you win favorite new heavy metal or hard rock artist. Memories of that evening, that ceremony. Do you get to go up on stage to accept that? Did you get to speak at all? Is it on YouTube?
yeah, it's on YouTube. CJ did all the talking, and they cut us off because, they were limited on time, and we were a baby band, and if we were staying up there accepting an award, sure they would have given him all the time in the world until he finished. But DJ did a great job of thanking everyone. But it was, it's nervousness when you look into that camera and there's, I don't know, 50 million people in there, and then it's going to be re-recorded and replayed forever. But he did a great job. And but the thing that I remember is that we were all going there, that the record company had provided us with transportation there in a very nice car. It was a limo, and we were like, wow, here we are going to this award show, and we're not going to win because, we're Firehouse, and the bands that we're up against have sold a lot more records that are all over MTV right now, and they're all over the radio right now. And we're here, but we're going to be gracious that it's just an honor to have been nominated, and we're going to have a good time and get to see some people, meet some new people. So we're sitting there, and when they called our name, we just freaked out. We couldn't believe it, man. But the ballots had gone out earlier, before the other bands that we were up against had really blown up into mega bands. So I think that's the timing was in our favor there.
And as you mentioned, we have to say who those bands were. I believe it was a little band known as Alice in Chains and a little band known as Nirvana that you beat, I believe. Is
And
that right?
I still don't feel it that we beat them, but we managed to sneak in on that one. And it was a great feeling. I mean, I just remember when they called our name, my jaw just opened up like I needed a jaw strap to pick my jaw up off the floor, because I just could not believe it. And it was about a 20-foot run up to the stage, and I think I did it in 3 steps. And I slapped the drummers. Garth Brooks was there, and I high-fived him. I high-fived the drummer for Alabama, who we had talked to earlier, and then there was 5 steps to get up to the stage. I think I did that in 1 step. I don't know. I don't know what happened, but it was our friends in the band Slaughter who
Yeah.
uh, presented us with that award. They had won it the year before.
Slaughter's come on the same show, so shout out. But Slaughter presented you, and then you get to do the honors the next year, and don't you get to go back and present for Pearl Jam? Is that right?
We sure did. Sure
Wow.
did.
Knowing what they would become, or even were at that time, they were huge right out of the gate. But yeah, like just memories of getting to. Did you get to hand the statue to Eddie Vedder, or were you kind of there on the
So
wings of the
Dave
ship?
Abrazi, their drummer, was there, and
Yeah.
it was great. I mean, we went there. Now, just inside baseball for the people who didn't know what was happening with Epic Records at the time, but we had done really well with our first record. The second record, everything had changed in the music industry. So Epic was they had signed Pearl Jam, but Pearl Jam, they waited for a long time before they released that album. I think it was sat on the shelf for a year before they really started promoting that. But when they did, they really, really took off. I mean, they're huge and a
You mean
great
10?
band.
You mean 10? The album 10?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I
Yeah,
get
yeah,
that.
yeah.
That's right. With Even Flow on.
Oh, and not just Even Flow, but Alive and Black and Jeremy, and it was amazing.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
that one.
yeah.
But they also then signed Rage Against the Machine,
Mm,
and then they signed Oasis, and those were their priority bands at Epic. So a band like us, they really didn't see it as an easy way to get us on the radio and an easy way to get us, any airplay on MTV or anything like that. So it turned into a challenge, but it was for the record company. But for us, we were out on tour. Well, we went out on tour with Warrant on our first major tour, and then we went out on tour with Tesla. It was a 6-week tour that was so successful that the promoters asked us to come back 3 times. So it lasted 9 months. And then the third tour, we went came back, wrote some songs, and put out a third album, and went out on the road right away with Poison. So
nice.
we had some really good tour opportunities that came our way.
Yeah, that's your major band you're touring with. Yeah, so I should say that second album was called Hold Your Fire in '92. It had Reach for the Sky and When I Look Into Your Eyes, which you mentioned earlier. And When I Look Into Your Eyes in the top 10 on the Hot 100. Was it, I don't want to say, was it pressure to follow up on Love of a Lifetime with another romantic song, but the same sort of fans that like Love of a Lifetime probably ate that up too, When I Look in Your Eyes.
Well, we as a band, we love to play a lot of different tempos and a lot of different vibes and stuff. But we are a hard rock, melodic hard rock band.
Yeah.
And so having a ballad on the album or two, on that album we had two. We had another one called Hold the Dream, and we were begging Epic to put that one out as well. But at that point in the cycle of an album, they were resistant because there was so much pressure and it was so difficult for them to get airplay for bands like us. And Epic isn't just a single label. It's a part of a big umbrella of labels under the Sony umbrella.
Mhm.
So you got Columbia, and you got a couple of other labels that are Sony labels, and all the heads of the labels, and the managers of the labels, the VPs, and the presidents were all talking to each other about how difficult it was for bands of our genre to get any airplay because the gatekeepers, as we call them, the program directors and whatnot, were moving on to the next thing, which was not our style. So, it was very difficult for us to get any action. Yet they put out When I Look Into Your Eyes, and it went to number 7, but did
That's a
pretty well.
top 10
Shocked
hit.
everybody.
Yeah.
It shocked everybody. But after that, we really wanted them to release this song called Hold the Dream
Yeah.
on our second record, but they were like, nah, you guys need to go make another album.
Yeah.
So
And
we
you
did.
did.
We
It
went
was
in and we
called Three.
recorded. Yeah, we couldn't come up with a name for that album, so we called it Three. And we got this legendary producer named Ron Nevison to produce it. And Ron had done an Ozzy record, and he'd worked with Chicago. He'd worked with Led Zeppelin
Yeah.
as an engineer, Bad Company,
Mm.
um, all these great UFO. I don't know if I mentioned that in a
Yeah, yeah,
Heart.
yeah. I forgot.
So many great artists, and we got him, and we recorded our third album. And during that time, we were listening to the radio, and none of the bands of our genre were getting any airplay. And most of the bands that put out records at that time um, weren't getting any sales. It was really tough. And so we were getting a little discouraged, but we forged ahead. We recorded that album, and in Los Angeles, and had a great mix engineer named Chris Lord Alge mix it, and who's just a fantastic engineer. And we wanted a more of a not as huge sounding record, just kind of more of an honest record, kind of like UFO record or something.
Yeah.
And Ron delivered it, and Chris mixed it, and it was something we're really happy with, and we got some airplay on a song. They released the ballad first on that record. It's called "I Live My Life for You," which I mentioned earlier, and
Yeah.
that went into the top, I don't know, 40, and depending on which chart you're looking at, I don't know, but nobody thought we could get a hit on that one, but we did. And I remember listening to the radio at the time, and in top 40 radio, they're dancing all the time, is what I was told. So it's very hard for them to slow the tempo down on top 40 radio. And the song we were competing with at the time, which is the greatest song I think that was put out in the 90s as a slow tempo song, was Kiss from a Rose by
Oh, of course.
Seal.
Of
So we were
course.
competing with that one at the same time,
And that
but
had the
yet
whole
we play.
Batman Forever soundtrack machine behind it
Oh
too.
yeah, and just the most awesome song. So
Yeah,
I
so good.
feel like we got really lucky to get a top 40 song at that time, with that kind of competing for slow tempo airtime at
Yeah.
top 40 radio. So it
Should
was
we
it was
say it?
good.
Baby, I can I can't sing. But
Yeah,
yeah, that says a lot that you were able to even compete with that. That's great. Well,
yeah.
That's just a couple of the hits. We don't have time to go into all of them. Obviously, everyone also check out your other albums, Good Acoustics and Category 5. Those were the last two with bass player Perry Richardson. Then, of course, you brought in the late Bruce Waybo.
Bruce Wabel, yeah.
Bruce Wabel sadly died shortly after you guys did '02 and 2000. Then you brought in Dario Satius for Primetime in '03, and then Alan McKenzie for Full Circle. And since then, so there's been a lot of shakeups, and including CJ Snare, sadly, like we said, passed away. So come celebrate CJ's life and check out Nate Peck at Tally Ho with Bill Laverty, still rocking and rolling with all these same great hits in your home state of Virginia.
By the way, Alan McKenzie, our bassist, has been with us now for 22 years. And so we call him the new original member.
Wow.
And then we call the great Nate Peck our newest original member. He just an amazing voice with and without even trying, he has that bright tone. And he really makes Firehouse sound like Firehouse, but in his own way. So I think he's just doing a fantastic job. So I hope everybody will come down to the Tally Ho and party with us. We're going to have a great time.
Absolutely. Everybody. Bill Leverty, the guitarist of Firehouse, is going to be at the Tally Ho in Leesburg, Virginia on April 3rd here in the D.C. area. And then if you're down more in the Richmond area, check them out at the Beacon Theater in Hopewell, Virginia on April 4th. So thank you so much for doing this. This was so fun talking lava lamps and paper routes and all the hits. This is great.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Jason. I really appreciate the time, brother.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.